Hi everyone, I'm Molly and welcome to Goodie Gumdrops. Today I'm making a pineapple upside down cake. What you are going to need for this cake is pineapples, maraschino cherries, light brown sugar, a half a stick of butter melted, a third of a cup of butter softened, an egg, baking powder, vanilla, salt, sugar, and flour. Alright, the first thing that you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that would be in Celsius, so you'll have to just translate that yourself. So what I'm going to do first is add the brown sugar. This is light brown sugar, about 3/4 of a cup packed into your 9-inch baking pan. And then you're going to add your butter and about 2 tablespoons of pineapple juice. And mix this all together to make a paste. Okay, so after this is all mixed, it's like a nice syrupy paste. Make sure it's evenly distributed at the bottom of your pan. Looks like caramel. It does kind of look like caramel a little. It would be if it was cooked. Now you're going to add your pineapples and your maraschino cherries. And you're just going to arrange them however you would like in your pan. So this pan will fit 6 pineapple rings. And then inside of each pineapple ring, I'm going to add 1 maraschino cherry. And because I love maraschino cherries so much, I'm going to add 1 in between each pineapple ring as well. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. This is optional. I just really love these cherries, so I want to have as many of them as possible. Alright, next we're going to make the batter for the cakes. So just let your pan sit on the side and we're going to mix up the batter. So for this, we need 2 separate bowls, one for the wet ingredients and one for the dry ingredients. So I'm going to start by sifting together my dry ingredients. So I'm going to take 1½ cups of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. I got this recipe from a very, very old cookbook. I can't even credit the recipe. Sorry about that. So I got this recipe from a very old cookbook from like the 1950s or 30s maybe. It was my grandmother's. And I don't know who to give credit for the specific recipe of the cake. I changed shortening to butter, so not too many people cook with shortening anymore. You could use margarine as a substitute if you'd like. So, oh, I put that in the bowl and I was meant to put it in the sifter. So I'm going to show you how to sift something. So, this is my sifter. To use it, you pull the handle. So I'm going to put all of my flour into the sifter. It's kind of spilling a little bit. I made a little bit of a mistake. I lost about maybe a tablespoon, so I'm going to add that. Okay, once you have your flour in here, Then add your baking powder and your table salt into it also. So that was 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, half level teaspoon, 1/2, and 1 teaspoon. And then the salt is 1/4 teaspoon. You can use any kind of salt you want for this recipe. I suppose it doesn't really matter. If you want to use kosher salt, sea salt, I don't know how they would turn out, but I usually just use table salt. Alright, so now I'm going to sift it. I've got everything inside of there, and you just start sifting. And that is pretty quick. Doesn't take very long to sift. You just want to make sure you don't leave any flour behind in there. Give it a couple good whacks. Get it all out of there. Okay. And now for the wet ingredients. So what I'm going to do is cream the butter and the sugar. You might have been saying to yourself, why didn't she have the sugar? Sugar is dry. Well, the reason is because we're adding it to the butter right now. So there's a little bit of flour in there. You don't want that in there yet. So I'm going to add 1/2 cup of sugar. Usually I might like sweeten it up a little bit and add some more sugar, but because I have so much brown sugar on the topping, I think I'm just going to leave it the way that it is in the original recipe. Alright, so creaming butter, basically all you're doing is beating it with your mixer until it's blended together. Once your butter is creamed, this is what it will look like. You don't want to stop too soon. It kind of looks like mashed potatoes. It's a nice creamy mixture. So you don't just want to mix it and stop. You want to make sure that it looks like this. Okay, now to this, I'm going to add the vanilla and the egg. So 1 egg. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla, pure vanilla extract. And I'm going to beat this again. Blend it together. Together, you are going to add the dry mixture and milk, which I neglected to mention at the beginning of the video. I apologize. You're going to need 1/2 cup of milk. Any kind will do. I always use whole vitamin D milk, skim milk, 1% milk. I suppose it doesn't matter. So you're going to add a little bit of the flour and mix. rest of the milk. And then finally the end of the flour. Okay, what I'm doing there is trying to aerate the batter by moving my beaters up and down through the batter, getting air into it. People ask me all the time, even when I make just box cake mixes, how do you get your cake so light and fluffy? Well, the secret is I try to add air into the cake. Most people say, oh, tap your cake on the counter before you put it in the oven, get all the air bubbles out. And I don't do that unless I'm making like a really dense like pound cake, because you want the air in there to fluff up your cake, and then you have a much more decadent and delicious cake that way. So I'm going to aerate this a little bit, and then we're going to pour it in the pan. Alright, that looks good to me. Now we're going to pour this over our pineapple and cherries. So this is a very thick batter, so I'm going to just drop it in like globs around the pan and then connect them together. This is a very thick cake batter, but I don't want it to seem like pound cake when I go to eat it later. I want it to still feel like a fluffy cake. Gonna use my finger to get the rest of that off. My hands are clean. I wash my hands like 50 times a day. So wash your hands before putting them inside of food, please. You don't want to get sick. Trying to be as delicate as I can. I don't want my cherries floating away down there. I want them to stay where they're at. So I want to try and get this all the way to the edge the best I can. Alright, that looks pretty good. I've got all of that brown sugar mixture sealed away under there. So now I'm going to put it in the oven. It looks good now, but it's going to look even better when it comes out. So I'll be back in about, how long does it take? About 45 minutes. And we'll flip this pineapple cake upside down and we'll see how it looks. Okay, my timer just went off on my oven, so I'm going to check to see if the cake is done. It still looks a little light, but it might be ready. So I'm going to test it with this knife. I don't have a toothpick. Alright, that's done. I'm going to take it out. Oops. And now I'm going to try something that I've never attempted before, which is to flip it onto this. So let's see how it goes. Actually, I'm going to use this knife again. Make sure that it's not stuck on the sides. So you want to just run your knife around the side of your cake. Make sure it's all unstuck. And then let it cool for about 2 to 5 minutes. You don't want to do it immediately. You want it to cool down a little because you don't want your cake to break. So I'll be right back. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. I'm going to flip this. You don't have to use a cake stand. You can use just a plate. Anything that you want to serve it on. But once you flip it, you're going to want to leave it on that. So you're committed to the flip. Alright, it's pretty easy. Got that over there, and you just turn your wrists. These things are way too big. I can't get it right. Oh, finally, there it is. And one pineapple fell. That's okay. You can just scoop it out of there. Pan is hot, so do not touch it. Put it back where it belongs. So this is my pineapple upside down cake. I hope you all subscribe, and if you enjoyed watching me make this, don't forget to hit that like button and keep coming back for more Goodie Goodie gumdrops. I'm going to cut this now and try it because this looks really delicious. Magnifique. It is delicious. I definitely recommend that you make this at home. It was really super good. Thanks for watching. Bye!